Ladies and gentlemen, reaction. This is Korea, Admiral V. Keep beating the drum. Extra history part 1 by the channel extra credits. Yeah. I don't know who Admiral E is, but people are constantly, commenting me in different videos like react to Admiral E. Some guy was also spamming, so I'm like, what the hell, why not? So yeah, Admiral. So I guess this is gonna be about Navy and naval battles. So it's gonna be fun. I've not reacted to many Korean histories, so I guess there's gonna be a change. So yeah. Remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction I did, there's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cast with the different playlists like history with all my historical videos in it, all the historical reaction, and CGP Grey, intern historian, all is sarcastic production, oversimplified. Yeah, let's do this one. Talking about dramatic, damn.
The year is 1572, 26 years earlier. A 28-year-old man rides across an open plain. A group of military men stand quietly, observing. His horse stumbles. He's thrown. At first, everybody watching thinks he's dead. His leg is horribly bent, broken. But after a moment, he gets up, dragging one leg behind him, and pulls himself to a willow tree. He binds his leg with its branches, remounts his horse, and finishes the military examination. He fails the exam anyway, but 4 years later he'll be back. He'll pass, and so will begin the career of one of the most glorious admirals of all time.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be one of those Hollywood type scenarios where, he falls down, everybody's like, we knew that he's nothing. And then he, slowly stands up, crawls to the tree, binds his leg with some kind of wood, and, finishes the exam, and everybody's impressed, and he passes. No, he failed. He failed anyway.
It's
is real world.
That this man even decided to join the military. Korea had known 200 years of relative peace, threatened only by the occasional raids from the Jurchen tribes on the northern border and pirate crews plying the nearby sea. The military was not a highly respected career choice for a man of noble birth. Taking the civil service exams and joining the ranks of the Confucian court was a much better way to achieve power and success. And yet this man, Sun-shin, though he was schooled in the Confucian texts, had dreamed of being a soldier since he was a little boy. And so at last, when he had passed the military exam, he was appointed to a desolate fort along the northern border.
Alright. I might be guessing way too much right now, but I like to do this. Any of you who've been watching my reaction knows this. I like to get into people's psychology if I can. Maybe I'm wrong, probably I'm wrong, but I like to think like what's their mentality at the time. So I guess it was socially unacceptable for the nobleman to, I guess, join military like that, because that was seen as some lowly thing to do, while some kind of political role was more accepted as more of a noble thing to do, more place of power or something. But I guess Admiral Yi had that hindsight vision, I guess, long distance view, whatever, that he saw things that usually people don't. Usually people constrained with social norms don't think of. He probably saw that, army is the true power, bigger army mentality and things like that. So whoever becomes the general, admiral, whatever, of the any army and has real military strength, military power, is the person with true power that is feared not just in his own nation but feared worldwide. Because anybody who has strong and powerful military obviously he's really powerful in his own country, but he's powerful in the entire world because everybody else fears him too. So I guess he just saw that around this time, I guess, bigger military and bigger military power is the only real power, because some major power invades, and if you're strong enough, we can kick their ass or something like that. So maybe he saw things that other didn't see. He had that hindsight thing that lots of great men have. Or maybe he just saw something and he just liked being a soldier or something. Who the hell knows?
While most of the border forts were pits of corruption, seen simply as a place to dump individuals who had fallen out of favor with the court, Yi drilled his men rigorously and refortified his post, bringing it up to true readiness in case of an attack. One day, the provincial governor came by to
Montage?
inspect the post. This was
I'm imagining a montage happening where he sees all these weaklings, soldiers, and it just shapes them into, proper professional army.
a man all of the fort commanders dreaded, known for his harsh punishments and brutal discipline. But when he came to Yi, he simply said, well done, and moved on. Shortly thereafter, Yi
He's like, it looks like I'm looking myself in the mirror. Well done.
was moved back to Seoul, a sign of growing favor, and he was given a post at the military academy there, training new recruits. He was by all accounts rigorous, diligent, and incorruptible. And this was exactly the problem. At this time, the military academy was actually a tool for younger noble sons to jump up the ranks quickly, and for courtiers to channel their favorite people into the cushiest assignments. And Yi was not cooperating.
So this was, the US college scandal that just happened. This is equivalent to that. I guess people bribed their way into this academy. All the soft people, all the people who shouldn't be there, but just wants, is there just to, I guess, get a degree or something, go on the top of the rank or something. And this Admiral E comes like, you son of a, get back in line.
So, after a short stay in Seoul, he was booted back to a provincial assignment. By July, though, he had secured a position running a naval garrison and was rapidly rising up the ranks again. But here, too, he was schemed against by corrupt officials. Many attempts were made to have Yi removed, but each one he parried expertly until, one day, one of his previous superiors from the military academy, one who Yi had rebuked for corruption, was called to his province to do an inspection. Seeing an opportunity for revenge, the inspector wrote a report castigating Yi, saying he was completely negligent. When the report got to Seoul, Yi found himself dismissed from the military entirely. 4 months later, though, he was vindicated. Found innocent of the charges against him, he was returned to service, but demoted to the lowest possible officer grade. He might have languished at this menial post, but at last his diligence was finally rewarded.
Yeah, this is why I guess, whenever somebody joins the military or army of any service, obviously I have no experience in this area, but I'm just, talking on, based on common sense and whatever I heard. This is why in the, military and army, where anybody joins, there is the one true message always goes like, teamwork and, unity, community is more important than any of your single-handed things that you do. So that's why people always emphasis in military and army, any of the camps. They always look out for your people and, just don't try to tread on anybody's foot or something, however that saying goes. Because shit like this would happen. Revenge would happen. Obviously it's military, so the report goes to the top official, and of course they are going to follow report. They're not going to question it. You can go the inquiries and not and whatever, but obviously based on the reports, he's gonna get screwed. So I guess don't tread on people. Basically, that's why there is lots of instances where you hear about how anybody who was, I guess, bit of a rebel type or whatever, and who was not staying in unity in these camps or whatever, was disciplined in some way or whatever, just so he understands that only way to go about is taking care of your I guess teammates and whatever, being in unity rather than trying to be, I guess, smart as or whatever.
When he was brought back to meaningful duty by none other than one of his former rivals. One of the fleet commanders who Yi had served under while maintaining the naval garrison had been transferred to the northern frontier, and knowing that he'd need good, capable officers, he requested Yi be sent with him. Soon, though, it became clear that Yi was needed to garrison a fort on the Tumen River, which was one of the demarcation lines between Jurchen and Korean territory. Jurchen raiders roamed far south of the Korean border, looting and pillaging at will. Raids had nearly overrun the nearby frontier province, and so Yi took up the post. He drilled his troops until they were in top shape, and knowing that simply shoring up the defenses wouldn't be enough, he laid his troops out for an ambush and then lured the raiders into Korean territory. He fell on them with a ferocity and a swiftness they had never seen in Korea. Within hours, the tribes were smashed and their power shattered. They would never again be such a threat to the province.
Holy shit!
But here too, Yi was stymied
He just stormed on the threat like it's nothing. This is ridiculous.
by a jealous superior, and while the court was jubilant about his success, the official record reads, although the court recognized Yi Sun-shin's meritorious service to the king, it nevertheless decided against awarding him a prize. Shortly after this, Yi's father died, and being deeply...
Now what the fuck? We understand you were heroic and you solved our massive problem for the king and the country, but we are still not gonna award you because fuck you, that's why. What the hell?
Rooted in Confucian ideals, Yi retired home for 3 years in accordance with the traditional mourning period. When he at last returned to service, he was put in charge of transportation for the court, but a mere 16 days later, it was decided that Yi was needed too badly at the border, and once again he was sent north. He was to man a small island fortress. Undermanned, crumbling, beyond disrepair, he once again drilled its garrison, shored up its defenses, and week after week sent out a request to the district commander for reinforcements. Then, one morning, as the mists rolled in and most of the men were out harvesting rice, because the military was in such a state that men on the border had to harvest their own food, the Jurchen attacked, pouring out of the mist on horseback. Yi Sun-shin only had a dozen men to defend with. He and his handful of soldiers fought desperately, cutting their way to one group of captives and escaping with 50 people the Jurchen would have taken prisoner. But by this time, you know the story. In order to avoid blame, Yi's superior, a man named Yi-il, blamed the entire defeat on Yi Sun-shin. He had him brought back to the capital.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna hate this series because of bullshit like this. Admiral Yi is badass. Clearly, just 5 minutes into this whole series story, basically, and I can only see that Admiral Yi is a badass. He's disciplined. He wants to do all these things. He's great admiral or whatever. He's really training his soldiers and everything. He's making a massive level difference. And every time, rather than being awarded, he's getting screwed by something. What I understand is corruption always lies in the middle of the chain, not at the top. Because top doesn't need to be corrupt, they have the power. So why is someone like king or somebody in the real top powers are not realizing that Admiral Yi is constantly doing this awesome things that nobody in the past have done for us. He clearly stands out, and apparently he always gets screwed like this. So there is something to this or something like that. Because he's winning the losing battles like it's nothing. He's dominating battles. He's surviving what should have been a massacre. He saves people like that, 50 people. How this news doesn't go all the way up? I mean, the level of corruption during this time is ridiculous. I mean, King probably doesn't even realize all these things. He just hears the results. He probably doesn't even know who Yi is. This is bullshit, man. This kind of things infuriate me.
Tortured, and put on trial in an attempt to have him condemned so that Yi-il could avoid any of the blame. But Yi Sun-shin did not crack under torture, and when it came time to take the stand, he said this to Yi-il. "My lord, you are asking me to assume the whole responsibility for the misfortune, but you are wrong. May I remind you that you have always refused my frequent request for reinforcement. The defeat was not a result of my negligence of duty, but in large part, your fault. Therefore, it is not I, but you, who should be held responsible for the defeat." The court was stunned. Many of them knew of Yi's record and were inclined to believe him, so in the end, he was allowed to live, but he was stripped of his rank, again, and returned to the army as a common enlisted man.
How does that work? How the fuck does that work? Sometimes things stuns me. The court realized that, he probably speaking the truth. They realized that. They know his record. He openly challenges the superior like it's your damn fault. And, by now it's clear that it was superior's fault because people believe Yi. If you're believing stripping the rank like that, maybe demote him a bit here and there if you want to do something like that. Even that is bullshit. But stripping of his rank and make him like that, yeah.
And starting over at the very bottom,
as
if
bullshit.
He'd never taken the military examinations. He was once again placed on the northern border and asked to fight the invading tribes, and once again he did so with distinction, until finally in 1588 he asked that he be allowed to retire.
There you go.
But storm clouds were gathering.
Yeah, I think at that point his spirit was crossed or something. As a kid he wanted to become a soldier. Obviously he wanted to do things and he wanted a reward in return. Nobody's like monk type bullshit that just want to give and don't care about what they get in return. No. If he deserves praise, he wants praise at that point. If you do all this shit, he constantly gets screwed. So by that point, I think his spirit was crossed like, okay, I think I want to retire or something.
Gathering over Korea, and some, especially his longtime friend, a man named Ryu Sung-young, recognized that soon the country would have need of good military men. While Yi had struggled through his career in the military, Ryu, his childhood compatriot, who had been his companion in games of war, had risen to be Prime Minister of Korea. It was actually through Ryu's influence, and because of his subtle aid, that Yi had time and again survived the machinations held against him. Now, Ryu...
So I guess Yi wouldn't have survived without the Prime Minister. So I guess those people didn't see that, oh, look at that, Yi is kind of speaking the truth. Look at that, Yi is kind of badass, Yi is getting screwed. No, they would have easily killed him, even with all of the things he did, just because a superior was salty or something. Only reason he survived is because of his friend is Prime Minister.
Planned to see that Yi would take his rightful place for the war he feared was coming. On the next episode of Extra History, remember how in the Sengoku Jidai episodes we talked about that messy Japanese invasion of Korea? Well, that's about to happen.
Oh shit.
Join us as Yi and Ryu take on the Japanese forces, as we delve into the differences in government, technology, and arms between these two nations, and as we explore the first few disastrous weeks of this war.
Oh, the next episode is going to be awesome. Japan versus Korea. Admiral Yi is going to sign there, and I guess going to get screwed again, because that's Korea for you at the time. Yeah. Obviously, I like the channel, the way, he's animating things and putting the video together. I like that. I like Admiral Yi and his story, but him getting screwed like this is pissing me off. Stories like this always pisses me off, where, a person puts everything on the line, he gives everything, and he does things that's not just contributing to the society, but he's doing things that nobody has done or can do at the time. He's really badass. He stands out and yet still gets screwed, because that's just how things go. That's how the system is. Probably even King realizes that, if he knows that Yi exists, even he realizes, look at the Yi is badass, but I guess, his superior is saying bad things about him. He made enemies, so I guess he got stripped of his rank, because that makes sense. Yeah. Alright people, that was Korea, Admiral Yi. Keep beating the drum by the channel Extra Credits. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, all the different playlists, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.